Welcome ladies and gentlemen, Tactical Itch here, and today we have another Skaven full Vanguard. Sent in by Mr. Teufel. We won't be focusing much on the melee rush aspect, but more on the missile department. As you might know, Skaven weapons teams recently are plagued with bugs and malfunctions, as is typical Skaven fashion. But unfortunately, that also rendered their strongest aspect, their firepower, quite useless and unreliable. But you know what is reliable? Good old kinetic energy weapons. Simply yeeting stuff into your enemies always work. So gutter runners with slingers and also regular gutter runners with their good old ninja weapons. A massive force of Skaven skirmishers ready to fill their enemies up with pebbles and pointy metal. Not the most elite, but definitely enough for the job. In the front line, Death Runners mixed in with Ashen Triads, one of them the Ixios Triads and one of them the Vixtrin's Death Squad. Regiment of Renown just making it a little bit more elite, providing a bit more staying power. The heroic support, we have Death Master Snickich, Ashen Sorcerer and also Assassin, a typical Ashen trio. As for their opponent this battle, their longtime nemesis, the Lizard Man. We have a whole lot of Chameleon Stalkers, no doubt trying to overwhelm that Skaven defenses with this Vanguard deployment and explosives. And far back over here in the regular deployment zone, 3 skin cohorts surrounding a Slan Mage Priest of Life and the mighty Dreadsaurian Shredder of Lustria. And that's basically for the army boats. Now let's get the battle started, as the Vanguard deployment are already clashing. We are just starting the battle in slow motion and the Lizardman is already in a disadvantage. Nobody expects the Skaven to Vanguard deploy and instead try to Vanguard deploy against Skaven, hoping to catch their weapons teams and artillery off guard. But this time this plan goes completely sideways for the Lizardman here, as the Death Runners have been Vanguard deployed alongside some Gutter Runners who are shooting at the Chameleon Stalkers point blank, while the Death Runners here slicing through all these Chameleon Stalkers with their anti-infantry bonus. Now the Chameleon Stalkers are trying to dish out some pain against the Gutter Runners with their explosives, but with the loose formation on the Gutter Runners scattering them around the battlefield, the blasts are not actually doing that much. As a result, the Chameleon Stalkers are taking massive damage while the Vixtrin's Death Squads are pushing forward trying to catch the Chameleon Stalkers. Even if being poisoned, they still have enough speed to catch up with the Chameleon Stalkers, who only have 48 speeds while the Vixtrin's Death Squads have 46. And that is after debuffed by poison and strength in numbers, causing massive losses among the Chameleon Stalkers. Lizardman here trying desperately to reinforce the front line using some of these Colon Riders sallying out from the tree line, which unfortunately I did miss them out in the earlier battle deployments due to them being so well hidden. Skin cohorts trying to push for the Slingers. Shredder of Lustria using its mass plowing through the front line. This silences the Gutter Runners and prevent them from shooting at the lightly armored Slan Mage Priest of Life. But still, the Lizardman leader is in great peril right now. The skin cohorts cannot withstand the anti-infantry bonuses from the Death Runners. The unit practically melted, exposing the Slan Mage to the assassin duo, Death Master Snitch and his loyal disciple. The Slan Mage is taking massive damage, but that still doesn't stop him from dropping a banishment on the Gutter Runners, destroying that unit, terrified by the Shredder's presence. Though the problem for the Lizardman is that Shredder, being exposed to the crossfire of multiple Skaven missile units, it has already taken some noticeable damage. In the front line, the Slan has been bailed out by some skin cohorts. The Code 1 Riders will be charging in, hoping to pin in the double assassins from Clan Ashen and save their Slan Mage Priest of Life. However, they simply can't punch through the Skaven defenses being debuffed by River High Talisman and the Skavens being buffed up by Slippery. While at the back, the Gutter Runners are still peppering the Dreadsaurian with pebbles. Being distracted by other units and having a large hitbox makes the Shredder very vulnerable to these kind of missile fire, as most of the Slinger shots manage to hit home. Now in the front line, the Skaven Assassin duo seems to be surviving fairly well among a horde of Code 1 Riders and skin cohorts, even receiving an Armor of Darkness from the Ashen Sorcerer, buffing up their armor. Not good against Code 1 Riders with armor piercing, but against skin cohorts definitely mitigating most of that damage. Now over here, Slan Mage Priest of Life being hit by a Weeping Blade, being surrounded by a whole bunch of Death Runners. He does not want to stay in the front line for too long here, especially being targeted by a whole lot of Gutter Runner Slingers. The Shredder is still trying its best to shut down the Skaven firepower, but there is only one Shredder and there are so many Skaven. He can't fight them all at once. In the front line, the Death Master has put his sigil onto the Slime Mage Priest of Life, making him a static target, exposing him to a lot of Gutter Runner fire. Even with the Shield of the Old Ones, that was not enough damage resistance to save the Slime Mage due to his lack of armor. A healing comes in, hoping to sustain his HP. Still, his health is lowering to a critical level. While the front line with the support from the Ixchia's Triad, the Cold One Riders are slowly being dragged down, while at the back here, Cold One Riders being debuffed by the Weeping Blade. It doesn't seem like any Ashen units are around, but actually some Cold One Riders are stuck in the blob of Ashen Triads, their armor now halved by the Weeping Blade. This makes them rather vulnerable to the non-armor piercing fire from all the Slingers, while they themselves are distracted by the Gutter Runners who are less prone to routing than the Skaven Slave counterparts. More Ashen Triads rushing in and the Cold One Riders will be completely routed. Back to the front line here, Shredder coming in to support, hoping to destroy these double assassin targets, but then again he just doesn't land the hit, while the Slime Mage is still parking himself in the front line trying to drop some banishment and thin out the Skaven hordes. Though it did weaken the Skaven missiles, dumping it on Ashen Triads and Death Runners would probably be a better use. While over here, the Gutter Runners, being decent melee combatant themselves, have beat back some Chameleon Stalkers, and more healing coming in from the Slime Mage Priest of Life, topping up the health from the Shredder. But now the Skaven backline is secured and they are ready to fire. Especially when Snitch has turned his attention to the big fast Slime Mage, pinning him down once again with the Death Master Sigil, making him the perfect target for all these Slingers to shower with pebbles. The Slime Mage will be responding with a Shield of the Old Ones for that 20% damage resistance, but that's not going to stop the Skavens from yeeting their stones, so the Slime Mage will be moving behind the Shredder using its massive hitbox to block those shots. Some regrouped Cold One Riders rushes forth to reinforce the front line, but a Ninja Star, a precise sniping from the Ashen Sorcerer, finishes off the Slime Mage. The Lizardmen losing their army's most significant support unit, and they are noticeably behind on the balance of power. The Shredder, still quite far away from the heal cap, will definitely struggle to carry this battle. It is doing some significant damage to the Assassin, but unfortunately not doing a whole lot to the Death Master. At the back here, the Cold One Riders trying to run down the Ashen Triads, but once again exposing themselves to the Weeping Blade, down to only 45 armor. Even the non-armor piercing Slinger shots will be able to whittle them down. With that, the Saurus shall be routing, and the same goes for the Skink cohorts. Now the only remaining bastion of strength for the Lizardman is this lone Shredder, being targeted by Death Master Snitch right now. Weeping Blade is in effect down to 50 armor. Some Cold One Riders, after regrouping, tries to support, but unfortunately that simply cannot stop the hail of Skaven pebbles raining down from afar. GG to both players here, especially to Mr. Teufel with this full Vanguard army, going for a rather risky approach, but it paid off, using those quite elite Death Runners to slice through all the Chameleon Stalkers, limiting the value they can generate in close combat, while also the Gutter Runners with their loose formation didn't take much damage, leading to a massive loss on the Lizardmen, as the explosive volleys on the Stalkers didn't manage to do much. Normally they would be decent against the Skavens, throwing in those explosive darts into the Skaven formation, thinning out their numbers, and they themselves, having decent melee combat stats and physical resistance, can actually beat back some Skaven chaff and also tie down weapons teams and whatnot. But unfortunately here, Skaven army is fairly elite with the empty infantry bonuses on the Death Runners and the Ixchia's Triads, as well as the other Ashen Triads themselves, and even the Gutter Runners, being decent melee combatants buffed up by the melee defenses on the strength in numbers ability. They actually have decent enough melee stats to beat back the Chameleon Stalkers. As a result, there is nothing to overwhelm these Skaven skirmishers. The Cold One Riders tried, but after running down the Vixtrin Stealth squads, limiting its value, they were too focused on tying down Death Master Snitch and also the Assassin here, while the rest of the Gutter Runners and the Ashen Triads were able to debuff their armor, allowing the Skaven Gutter Runners to maximize their damage when they yeet rocks into Lizardmen elites. The Weeping Blade 50% armor debuff is just so lethal, especially against high armor targets, since the more armor you have, the more you get debuffed by the Weeping Blade, because the armor debuff is percentage based instead of a fixed number. definitely a much stronger contact effect than the armor sundering, which is a fixed number of 30 armor. When combined with other Skaven units, and in this battle the example would be the non-armor piercing Skaven Pebble Slingers. The Weeping Blade's armor debuff can compound into some game-changing effects. Now for the exact battle performances on these Slingers and Gutter Runners, all of them managed to earn back their value, getting at least 700 gold, and some of them well over 1000. Focusing down the Slime Mage Priest of Life, the Shredder, and of course the Cold One Riders. As for the leadership here, Assassin doing some okay damage, but mostly Deathmaster Snitch, specialized in killing single entities, doing some nice damage to the Slime Mage and also the Shredder, of course cutting through a whole bunch of Lizardman troops. Being protected by the Ashen Sorcerer's Armor of Darkness, the Assassins here didn't really take too much damage until they have to face down the Shredder. As for the Death Runners here, slicing through a whole bunch of Chameleon Stalkers, get some okay value, of course being run down by the Cohen Riders afterwards, not doing a whole lot, while the Ashen Triads did some okay damage on one of them, the other two got some nice kills, but mostly their main use here is using the Weeping Blade on the key Lizardman targets. As for the Lizardman army, the Cohen Riders unable to recover a lot of value, spending too much of their time surrounding the double assassins, Chameleon Stalkers, we talked about them before, and the Skin Cohorts being quite chaffy themselves, didn't really do too much damage either. Shredder of Lustria doing some really good damage, but unfortunately being worn down by a consistent stream of Skaven projectiles. And then of course the Slime Mage Priest of Life, all it can do is to thin out the Skaven army with its banishment. And yeah, that's basically it for today's battle. Viewers, I hope you enjoyed this replay, and if you do and want to see more, be sure to hit the like and subscribe to get notified every time I upload new videos. And if you want to showcase your battle like Mr. Teufel here, feel free to drop by my Discord or send me an email with the replay file attached. I'll be sure to check them out. That's it for today, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich, signing out.